Today, we're diving into a really profound idea, a hidden power that, believe it or not, shapes our entire world. We're going to pull back the curtain on an invisible faith, one that pretty much all of us serve without even knowing it. So let's get into it. The source material kicks off with this line right here. It's basically asking you to just stop for a second and listen, to feel this low-level frequency that's running under everything, every city, every country, and maybe even inside of us. It's a sound that most of us are just way too busy to ever really notice. Now, we have names for this hum, right? We call it the market or the economy, but what if it's something more than that? What if it's actually a global belief system, like an invisible church built on numbers, held together by our shared faith, with currency as its one true, silent God? This is such a great analogy. Think about the global belief in money like Tolkien's One Ring. I mean, it doesn't matter if your personal ring of power is the dollar, the euro, or the yen. They're all just lesser rings, right? They're all bound by the exact same invisible idea, the same basic faith that this thing has value. And this belief, it runs deep. I mean, we build our actual identities around it. We sacrifice our time, our energy, sometimes even our morals, all at its altar. It has quietly become the god of the modern world. The thing about the ring is, it only has power because we keep feeding it. So, what's its fuel? What is keeping this massive psychological system running day in and day out? Well, the source calls this fuel the 7 shadows of the human heart. These are the darker parts of our nature that keep the One Ring glowing and give the invisible church its power over us. Let's break them down. First up, you've got greed, that endless desire for more, always paired with that nagging fear of not having enough. This is what keeps the engine of accumulation just constantly churning. Next, there's envy. This is what keeps us looking over our shoulder, right? It fuels that nonstop comparison game and that constant ache for what everyone else has. And then, pride. This is the shadow that keeps that social ladder, that hierarchy, bolted firmly in place. It drives the relentless race for status and for being on top. Gluttony. This one keeps the markets growing forever, driving us to consume and want way, way more than we could ever actually need or use. And lust. Now, this isn't just about physical desire. It's a much bigger thing, a constant, bottomless craving. It makes sure our wants are endless and our satisfaction is always just around the corner, but never quite here. Then you have wrath. This is what keeps the system's punishment so sharp. Think about aggressive debt collectors or harsh economic sanctions. It's all about keeping us in line through fear. And finally, sloth. Not just laziness, but more of a spiritual apathy. It's when we willingly give up our own power, our own agency, and just let the system do the thinking for us. So when you put it all together, you can see how each shadow has a specific job to do. Accumulation, comparison, hierarchy. These aren't bugs in the system. Oh no, they are its core features. They're the very air that this whole ideology of the One Ring breathes to dominate our world. But what if we just refused to play? What if we as a species made a choice to just starve these shadows? See, the path out isn't about blowing the system up. It's about making it irrelevant by cultivating a world of virtue instead. And just look at the direct opposition here. Generosity is the perfect antidote to greed, right? It literally stops the engine of accumulation in its tracks. And contentment, well, that's the cure for envy. It just turns down the volume on all that constant noise of comparison. And the pattern just keeps going. Humility completely dismantles the fragile tower that pride works so hard to build. And sufficiency, that simple, powerful idea of just having enough, it completely drains the power from gluttony's endless hunger. And here we round it out. Presence, just being fully here right now, it short-circuits the endless craving of lust. Compassion completely disarms the fear-based punishments of wrath. And active engagement, that's how we take back the very power that sloth convinces us to give away. And this is the absolute core of the whole thing. The system doesn't collapse in some big fiery revolution, it just fades away. The One Ring doesn't control us with force, it controls us by feeding our deepest, darkest desires. So if we stop desiring what it offers, it just becomes a useless, hollow piece of metal. So, okay, how do we actually do this? The source material lays out a path forward through what it calls the Great Heresies, acts of rebellion that are so alien to the system's logic that the invisible church, well, it just can't process them. This is basically a rebel's playbook. Every one of these is a direct hit on the system's core logic. Giving a true gift with absolutely no strings attached. Choosing to be content instead of always needing the next upgrade. Sharing tools in a community instead of everyone buying their own. Living debt-free to get your time and your life back. And finally, and this is a big one, declaring that some things, like nature or your own integrity, are sacred, priceless, and just not for sale. Now, in our super connected digital world, these ancient ideas need a modern-day upgrade. And the source material has a name for that too, the Sovereign Protocol. Think of it as a manifesto for how to live an unbound life, right here in the 21st century. This symbol here is like the logo for the whole protocol. And if you look closely, you can see the symbolism. Peer-to-peer connections, the broken chains of currency, and it's all centered around a focused, sovereign human being. It's really about using modern tools without becoming a tool of the modern system. This table just lays the choice out with crystal clarity. Are you defined by your data profile or by your character and your actions? Is your attention just passively sucked up by an endless feed, or is it actively directed by your focus? Do you rent your most important tools through never-ending subscriptions, or do you actually own them? And maybe most importantly, do you measure your life by its price tag or by what it's truly worth? We're going to end with this one single line from what the source calls the Oath of the Unbound. It just captures the whole idea perfectly. This isn't about running off to the woods and rejecting money entirely. It's about a massive psychological shift. It's about seeing the system for what it is, a tool, and refusing to let that tool become your master. It's choosing to live in the church, but to never ever bow at its altar again.